Today we're going to talk about the wonders of the Digicam. What I have here is a Canon SD 1400 IS, IS standing for image stabilization. Recently I've been using this Digicam and I've been loving it. I've been loving the images it takes, and I feel like it's a pretty cool thing to take along. It fits in the pocket and you don't have to use your phone. It takes you away from all the apps and distractions on your phone, and you can focus on the pictures. Now this is something that was very popular back when I was a kid. It would be very hard to see a selfie in a mirror without one of these on a MySpace or Facebook post. So before we dive in here, I want to show you some pictures and then we'll talk about the specs. After seeing some of those photos, I hope you get like a gist of how these photos hold up to today's standards. Some of the specs I would like to go over this camera is, from the intro you probably saw how the camera has a zoom lens, so we'll be talking about that. So here are some specs of this camera. It's a 28mm to 112mm lens. The pictures are 14 megapixels. It takes 720p video. It has an ISO range of 80 to 1600. The f-stop is 2.8 to 5.9. And the max shutter speed is 1/1500th of a second. So those are some of the specs of the camera. Some things I want to input is the ISO range. I would try to keep it under 800 because anything over gets very grainy, and it's more grainy than it would be with the cameras we have today. And I would also use a flash whenever it's dark. But let's go overview and take a tour of the camera. Let's just briefly talk about the zoom. The zoom goes from 1 to 4x, and then it goes from 4x to 16x, where the 4x to 16x range is a digital zoom, and from the 1x to 4x is from the lens. So try to keep your zoom range between the 1 and 4x, and then if you have to, you can go up to the 16x. This camera has 3 modes on the back. It has auto, then there's a camera icon. That's where you would be able to put your own settings in to take pictures, like more of a manual setting, and then the little film camera, which is where you would be able to take video. If you set your camera onto the little camera icon, which is a manual setting, the left of the dial, you could set it to a macro lens, a normal, or an infinity focus, so it helps with your focusing. The top part of the dial is your exposure compensation. Now I usually shoot at -1/3. I just do this because this camera has a tendency to overexpose the highlights, so I just bring it down 1/3 of a stop, and that kind of retains the detail in the highlights, and then the shadows aren't too bad. Stops go in 1/3 increments from plus to minus. Then also on the dial is your flash, so you could do auto flash, flash on always, slow synchronize, which means that the flash will turn on and then it'll have a longer shutter speed to kind of get the exposure for the background, and then it has just the flash off. I would keep the flash auto because whenever it's dark out you do want the flash to go off, because at a high ISO you're going to have a lot of noise, and then also your shutter speed would be lower and the image stabilization might not be able to correct that. And then on the bottom of the dial you have the timer. So you can start with the timer off, 10-second timer, a 2-second timer, and then a custom timer. You could set how many seconds and how many shots you want from that self-timer. So in the center of this dial is the function menu, and the first thing you could change would be your metering. And in the metering you could be evaluative, which sets the brightness based on overall scene. There's centered weighted average, which sets brightness based on the center of the scene. And there's spot, which sets brightness based on the center frame area. I usually have it on evaluative because really it never misses exposure on that setting. Then the next setting is the color profiles. You start with the setting of off, then vivid, which will emphasize your contrast and color saturation, neutral, which decreases contrast and color saturation, sepia, which shoots sepia tone images, black and white, which just shoots black and white photos, positive film, which creates more of a vivid color. This is the setting I usually have it on. From my experience, the vivid colors that it tries to create is not much different from the auto or just having it off. But regardless, that's the option I pick. Then there's lighter skin tone, where people's skin tone is recorded lighter. Darker skin tones, where people's skin tone are recorded darker. Vivid blue, which emphasizes the blue tones in the sea and sky. Vivid green, which emphasizes green tones, so this can be used in landscapes for trees, grass. Vivid reds, it emphasizes red tones, so you can use this with flowers, apples, like an apple orchard, and then custom colors, so you could just design your own color profile. So for this, I just stay with the positive film. Then you can set your white balance. I've never had trouble with white balance, so I just have it set to auto. But the first option is auto. Second is daylight, cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent, fluorescent high, and then your custom white balance, which will match the current light source. But I keep mine on auto white balance. Then the ISO, mine is usually on auto, but you can set it from 80, 100, 200, 400. 400 is where you want to stay when taking these photos. It also has 800 and then 1600. But I have mine set to auto. Then you want to make sure you're in program mode if you want to use those color profiles. But other than program mode, they have portrait mode. They have night snapshot, which will be probably a longer shutter speed for those night background shots. Kids and pets, so that's going to have like a faster shutter speed. You have indoor, which creates more natural tones indoors and probably uses a slower shutter speed. Smart shutter, which uses face detect to take photos automatically. Low light, which gets a clear shot in very low lighting conditions, so it probably has a slower shutter speed with that one. Then the color accent, keep only selected colors and change others to black and white, but you could just do this stuff in Lightroom if you have it. Color swap is basically changing colors. Again, you could do that in Lightroom, but you can also do it internally in the camera. You got the fisheye effect, the miniature effect, which blurs the top and bottom for like a miniaturized effect. Beach, which shoots natural scenes in strong sunlight. Underwater, you have to use a waterproof case for this because it's not a waterproof camera. Foliage, which shoots foliage in vivid colors. Snow, so it shoots natural looking snowy scenes. Fireworks for more of a vivid type color. And a long shutter, so you can use long exposure times for very dark scenes. Then it also has the switch assist, which helps creating the panoramic images, so you can stick this on a tripod because it does have a screw for the tripod at the bottom, and then you can make a panoramic scene with that. Drive mode, so you could take a single shot or you could do a continuous burst. And then I have mine set for pixels is large and smooth, like a fine compression. With the function menu, you also have display, so you could display your options on the screen or just have a clean slate. You could see your pictures that you took. And then the menu just has various other functions like a servo autofocus and other various things you could change, but mostly you can get all that from the function menu in the function in the center of the dial. This camera also uses a very small battery. This is the battery here. Very thin, very small battery. And that fits in right in the door panel underneath. Now that we took a tour of the camera, I'm actually going to take the camera out. It's snowing out. We're going to take the camera out and we're going to see how it does in the snow. And I'm going to try various different things. I'm going to try macro shots. I'm going to try backlit, front lit. I'm going to try fast moving subjects, slow moving subjects, far away subjects. And I'm also going to have video. So when you're watching the video I create from this outing, if you see the camera in the video, I'm using my phone to record. If you don't see the camera, then I'm using the Digicam to record. And the quality of the Digicam is lower for video, but I feel like the pictures are going to come out good. So I had a very fun walk. The camera performed really well. The pictures came out great. It did a good job with macro shots. It did a good job with every type of shot I gave. Even the backlit shots came out well. I didn't edit any of the photos. This is what they look like straight out of the camera. The video did look dated, but if you're looking for a dated type of look, this is a great camera for that. Also, the image stabilization works great with pictures, but doesn't work so great with video. So there was a lot of shaking when I was walking in the video, but it did help when I was running through the tunnel. I was kind of running through the tunnel, and the image stabilization did make it look like if I was walking. So don't know how to interpret that, but I would say the image stabilization worked mostly for photos and not too much for video. And hopefully from the pictures you saw in the beginning to the picture from my photo walk, you can kind of get a sense of how this Digicam performs to today's standards. I think that the equipment really doesn't matter, it's the photographer. So as long as you have good pictures in your mind and you can compose good shots, you're going to have good pictures. And this is a great camera to take along with you. It fits right in your pocket. Super simple to use, and it's really fun taking pictures, and people love when you bring it out because it brings back a lot of memories. And I highly suggest getting one of these. It's very cheap to get on eBay. I don't know about this exact model, but other ones on eBay are pretty low priced. And just get one, throw it in your pocket, and have fun with it. Anyway, have a good day, and I hope you like this review.